Guys, let's start joining as we go live into this interesting and wonderful conversation. Let's start joining as we go live into this interesting and wonderful conversation. So we'll be looking at a market. We'll be looking at this market airdrops. What is this market really all about when talking about airdrops and others? So all those points are actually what we will be looking at in the course of today's section. So welcome. Let's keep joining, guys. Let's keep joining as we go live discussing what we actually have here in today's interesting session. I want to see your comment on the chat box. I want to see your comment on the chat box so that I know you guys are online and you guys are ready to go live with me as we go live into this wonderful and interesting conversation. I want to see your comments on the chat box as we go live into this interesting conversation. So today we'll be looking at the market. We're talking about the Raft airdrop. Now, you know that previously we're talking about some various different kind of airdrops, and today we'll be looking at the Raft airdrop. That's what we'll be looking at into this conversation. Now, you can see in this Raft, you can see we have a lot of airdrops that we have here in the market. You can see a lot of airdrops, and look at these are airdrops like we have it 848 airdrops that's actually ended, and we have here over 13 million thousand people have actually 30 million plus have actually participated in all these airdrops. When we have that, is to tell the huge amount of people that are currently participating in all these airdrops that we currently have in the ecosystem. So right now, if you're actually looking for airdrops to actually get into or to actually invest in, these are all important projects that we need to look out when looking at different projects. What are the projects really all about? How can we actually key into? What are the different factors that we need to actually take note of when looking at all these projects and others? So it is actually all this conversation we'll be having in today's section are actually very important that we need to take note of when talking about different projects. What are they? How can we actually go about? What are the different factors that we need to take note of them? And that all those points here are actually very important. Actually, very important that we need to actually take note of. Now, looking at the Raft project, the Raft airdrop, that is a project that you can actually now you can see it is almost time for it to close. You can see it's going to actually end in 12 hours 32 minutes and thereabout, and the seconds is actually reading daily. So now is looking at this Raft airdrops. Now is the right time. If you're looking, okay, how can I will taking you guys on the step. Now a lot of people are asking that, okay, I need this airdrop, I want to actually get this airdrop. How can I actually get this airdrops? What are the different ways for me to actually get this airdrops, from to actually invest into this airdrops and all that? So I'll be taking you guys on how you can actually take advantage of these airdrops, what the airdrops are actually really all about, how can we actually go about it, and other. I'll actually be taking you guys in all the steps in the course of today's session. Please let me see your comment on the chat box if you know you are ready, if you are ready to go live with us in the course of today's session, because I really don't want anyone to actually miss out in today's interesting and wonderful conversation as we keep moving live in what we're actually talking about when talking about different airdrops and other. Now, looking at this, actually the Raft airdrops we currently have it. Let's go into it now. Looking at it here, looking at the projects here that we have here, you can see it here. We currently have it here in progress, and you can see how many people have actually supported this airdrop. You can see it here. We have almost 15,717 supporters of this project when looking at it, and how much, as you can see, how many millions that's actually been raised. And this time investors have actually come about to actually invest in this product. It's actually ending. You can see how many hours left. It's actually ending in 12 hours. You can see it 12 hours 30 minutes. That is what you actually have left to actually get this airdrop. So if you are actually looking for a time to actually go into this airdrop, so part of it right now is the right time for you to actually look out for this project, to actually get into it. Now is the right time for you to actually look into this project, for you to actually invest in it. When looking at this project, what is this project really all about? How can we actually go up? What are the different factors that we need to consider when looking at this project? And also, it is actually very important that we understand all these factors. All those factors are actually very important that we need to actually consider when looking at the market. What is the market really all about? What is the market talking about? How can we actually go about? What are the different factors that we need to actually consider when looking at the market movement and what the market is all about? How can we actually take control of the market? Now, you can't actually, now I remember I do tell you guys that you can't actually, it's probably my subsequent class, I'll be talking about different kind of project, how you can actually set up your security, we're talking about airdrop. Now, what is airdrops? It's actually airdrop that we have on Gate.io that's actually very, very because if it's not actually a good project that you can actually look into, you won't have it on this platform. Now you can see it now. Now just imagine you invest getting this token at the current price in which is it, and right now imagine how far it will go. Imagine if it actually move from here to other places, other platform, and the utility. Now taking that job, there's some different factors that actually predict how the market is actually going to go. The first one is the utility of the market. The second one is the community of the project. The third one is the use cases. Now all these factors actually has its own role to play in the market itself, in the central market itself, to actually get control. Okay, this is how the market is going, this is how we can actually take control of the market. These are the different factors that we must consider we're looking at the market movement and all that. So all these points are actually one or two points that are actually very, very important that we need to actually consider. We need to talk about when looking at the ecosystem. What are they really all about? How can we actually go about them? And now in this area here, you can have it here. Now to actually take part to get this free airdrops that we actually have on this on this Gate.io that we currently have now. All you just need to do, the startup. The startup is a project. The startup of this project is an airdrop, and you can receive the project token for free. Now, this is actually now, one point you need to understand that this startup project is actually an airdrop. Now, this is actually a startup project coming on board newly on Gate.io that you can actually look into in investing in, and you can actually receive the project token. Now, this actually has a token. Now, most projects actually come on board in the ecosystem actually has a token. Now, so this project actually has a token that you can actually get for free. So all you just need, there are some different steps that you just need to take for you to actually have this token for free. I will go into details to talk about what the project is actually really about, what is the utility of the project, and what you need to know about the project. And now the first thing you need to do is to actually log into your account. Now immediately you log into your account, the second step is to hold spot asset not less than 10 USD and click on zero free to receive another. And the third step is to actually confirm the share and receive the airdrop. It's actually that simple. So if you're not listening to me for the first time and you've not claimed this token, please kindly claim this token. All you just need to do just to log into your account, and if you are logging into your account, all you just need to do is just to hold up to 10 and ensure that you do your verification, because your verification is actually very, very important. Ensure you do your verification, and immediately you're done, just deposit up to 10 USD on your spot. Immediately you do that, just click on zero, just click on zero free to receive, and that is all what you need to do to actually be part of this project. And so just imagine, okay, this is what we have it in progress. Now I should just click on this. You can see it now. I just want to get this airdrop and see what I just want to show you guys. Now you can see it. I just have to subscribe and all that available. All this, you see, successful, or you can see it as successful. And so that these are all what you can see. Thanks for your participation. And also all these are actually important steps that we need, and they are not actually removing any funds from your account when looking at this project, and which is actually very very important that we need to take note of when looking at the project. What is the project really about? How can we actually go about? What are the different factors that we need to consider when looking at this project? And it is actually very, very important that we take note of all those factors when looking at now looking at it. You can see it. You can see now I just participated in it. You can see now number of copies, 10 copies, and the payment amount, the take home token. They are yet immediately now. Immediately you have it here. Immediately is this 12 minutes 25 12 hours 25 minutes. Immediately it's elapsed. You actually see the number of token that is actually deposited in your account, in which is actually now, because it's actually going to be a token. Now you will see the number of the amount of token that you are able to get at the end of the day. here, which is actually very, very important. All these are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. How does the ecosystem actually operate? How can we now? You can't actually go and invest in a project if you don't really know what the project is actually really all about. That is one point. Now we're talking about Raft project. Now what we're actually talking about Raft now. Raft generates a leading decentralized stable coin, and also so by opening a CDP collateralized, the meaning of CDP is actually collateral debit position, or depositing stable coin into the Raft protocol reserve. That is actually what is actually real. But now let me explain it again. The Raft generates a leading decentralized stablecoin. The Raft generates the Raft generates a leading decentralized USD stablecoin by opening a collateral debit position or depositing stablecoin into the Raft protocol reserve. That is actually how they actually generate their how it actually operates. And so all these points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when talking about what are they really all about. How can we actually go about, what are the different factors that we must consider when talking about. So the Raft generates a kind of a leading decentralized stable USD stable coin. So it's actually generates a kind of a leading decentralized stablecoin by opening by opening the collateral debit position. Or if we don't want to use the collateral debit position, we can actually use depositing coin into the Raft protocol reserve when looking at. And also you can see the initiating member. You can actually see the initiating member that we have. You can see the initiative member, David. His name is David, responsible for providing the Raft strategy, financial and also operational leadership. David previously worked as a structural finance lawyer in London and Tokyo. You can see this. This is actually one of the initiating member of this project. Now, it's actually responsible for providing the Raft strategy, financial and operating leadership. That is actually his job that we have here and others. So all these are now to actually participate in this project. All you just need to do is to actually register and actually log into get.io. And after logging into your platform get.io and other, you actually complete your verification, and actually you actually have a chance to actually be part of this project and other. So all these are actually important. All these are actually important points that we will be talking about in today's section when talking about, okay, what are they really all about? How can we actually go about? What are the different factors that we need to consider when you can see it here that we have the startup. You have 0 USDT. The startup project, we have 4,000 and 400,000. Okay, so we have 4,000 here, and we have here also this 4 million Raft. We have 4 million Raft as a startup, in which we have it here. Look at it here, 4,000 Rafts here. You can see it here. And also apart from that, and so all these are actually important point that we need to take. All these actually important point that we need to take note of when looking at, okay, what are they will about? How can we actually go about the different factor that we need to consider when looking at the ecosystem, or when looking at how it's actually operated. And it's actually very, very important that we take note. It's actually very, very important that we take note of all these points. All these points are actually very, very important that we need to consider when looking at the ecosystem. How does it actually operate? What do we need to take note of them? What are the different factors that we need to actually consider when looking at the ecosystem, or when looking at, okay, this is how the ecosystem operates. These are actually what we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. And also, if you're actually looking for a way to actually get into this airdrop, or to actually invest into, right now is the right time for you actually look into it. Now you can see it here. You can see, let me reload this page. You actually see how many hours left. Let's get how many hours left for this project to be launched. Another, let's get how many hours left for this project to be launched. Right now you can see it. You can see how many here, 15 hours 20 seconds, 20 minutes. That is all it takes for this project to be launched. So if you're actually looking for a right time to actually go into, to actually invest into this project, right now is the right time for you to actually look into looking at this place as a kind of a right platform for it to actually invest in, and that is actually very, very important that we consider all this factor when you can say, oh, okay, let's go to the coin market. You can see on coin market cap, you can see it's currently on coin market cap, but it's yet to be listed because it's yet on any platform. That is why you have it. You can see it is yet on any platform, but it's actually going to be, it's actually a new token coming on board, so it's actually going to be on gate.io. Gate.io is actually going to be the first platform that is actually going to be going live on. You can see that, okay, this is actually, now you can see on the coin market cap, this is actually the news of what they actually have. You can see the Raft enable the generation of R, a leading decentralized stablecoin and USD stablecoin, by operating the collateral debit position or by depositing stablecoin into the Raft protocol reserve. Now, the Raft is a most capital efficient USD stablecoin backed by high quality collateral assets and reserve assets such as the chain, a kind of the yield bearing version of the DAI stablecoin. Now the R, that is the route. When you talk about I, the short form is actually R, and that it's actually aimed to keep the tight and stable payment by means of the Pring stablecoin model, and also the contract that the stablecoin are priced by allowing users to trade it against reserve assets such as the DAI as the fixed exchange rate when looking at it and others. So all these are actually very very, you can see it in the news. Stay tuned up for more news about what they're actually really all about. And so all this actually very, very important that we need to actually take note of. When you can see now the zero is actually zero, you can see the total supply here, the total supply that is actually going to be in the market and other. So it is actually very, very important. Also check that, because we have to actually know, okay, what is their social media and what do they actually have strength in their social media. Now this is actually their Twitter page here. You can see this is actually their Twitter page. What do they have on their Twitter page here? You can see it here. Unlocking the financial freedom. Okay, we have it. Okay, it's actually, I think it's actually built on the Ethereum blockchain, and we have it also have it. We say unlock the financial freedom with Raft, the CDP, and also the reserve asset backed by our stablecoin jumped on board. Another, it was actually, this Twitter page was actually opened in March 2023, and you can see it. They actually have huge amounts of followers. What about engagement? They actually have huge amount of engagement. We're looking at it, and also all these are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. And we're looking at, okay, these are actually what they're actually really about. These are actually how we can actually invest in. These are actually what we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. When looking at, okay, how can I actually go into what are the different factors that we need to. So now, even though before we go into the white paper to talk about, okay, this is what the white paper is actually really about. Let's look at the website. Now, these are actually the website. I believe everyone can see my screen. This is actually the website. Let me make it more visible. This is actually the website. This is actually what they have on their website. You can see their website here. This is actually what they actually have on their website. You can see it here. And also, what do we actually see here when looking at the website? When looking at, okay, how does the website actually operate? What do we need to take note of it? And there are some basic points that we need to actually look at when looking at this project. What they actually really, now you can say unlock financial freedom. That is actually one of their motto that they actually have in the ecosystem, unlocking financial freedom. Now looking at actually what this project is actually really about, what they do, and how can we actually go about, what are the different factors that we need to actually integrate into the ecosystem, what are the different factors that we now, this is actually the home page, and we can see it unlock. The first thing we can see here is unlocking the financial freedom. We have discovered how the ultimate decentralized cryptocurrency for our digital economy. Discover how the ultimate decentralized currency for our digital economy. Another, you can see the launch by our another image we currently have on gate.io, and it's actually going to be launched in few hours from now. So all this point actually talking about are actually important points that we need to consider, that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. When looking at, okay, this is what this project is actually all about. When talking about it, this is how we can actually integrate into this. Are actually how we can actually go into it. When looking at the ecosystem, when looking at actually how the ecosystem really operates, what are the different factors that we need to consider when looking at the ecosystem and others. So all those points are actually very, very important that we need to consider, we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem and others. So let's go back, let's check more, and let's check. We can see, okay, one of their features, the feature discover R is equals to $1, a digital currency dependent or from bank, independent of bank, generate or buy with ease, spend, you can say, spend on your own time, and that is actually what they're actually trying to do, trying to build a kind of an ecosystem that, okay, that 1 hour is actually going to be equals to $1 when looking at it and all that, which is actually very, just imagine, just looking at the US, just trying to create a kind of a just like the USD, and we have different kind of stable coin that we have in the ecosystem. So this is actually kind of trying to take away any form of dependence on traditional finance ecosystem. Okay, you don't need to go to bank to actually go into the ecosystem. How can you actually go into it? What do you need to know when looking at it? And that is actually all what we'll be looking at in the course. You can see now the total lock, you can see the value locked. We have 22.64 million dollars when looking at it. You can see it here. This is actually what is actually locked, and you can see the market cap 36 million dollars out. That is really looking at the out token and others. So you can see now, looking at the capital, all this capital efficiency, buy R on market and generate, buy R on the market or generate R with Raft, generate R and keep your exposure to the old collateral, pay low with fixed interest rates when looking at it. Also fully backed by collateral. I'll use this prove sophisticated mechanisms to maintain its prey by the price of $1, $1 US dollar when looking at. So it's actually the way they actually do it, they actually use the price of the US dollar. That's why we actually have here R is actually going to be equals to just like a stable token when looking at it. So all these are actually very, very important. It's actually very, very important that we take note of all these points and understand all these points when looking at the ecosystem. What are they really about? How can we actually go about? What are the different factors that we need to actually consider when looking at the ecosystem? When looking at, okay, this is how the ecosystem operates. These are actually what we need to take note of then when looking at it and order. So it's actually, we can see it's actually fully backed by collateral when looking at. Also looking at the interest earning. Now put your R into the R saving rate and earn 8% fixed APR on your deposit and withdraw in any time when looking at. So you can see how interesting the platform works, what the platform is actually really all about, how it actually works, and it's just like your stable coin that you have in the market space and all. So all these points are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. What are they really all about? How can we actually go about it? And I believe you guys are actually following me, and you guys are getting what I'm actually dishing out with you guys in the course of today. So looking at it here, we have stats here, buy R and put it into use. Now you can say buy R. These are actually places in which you can actually buy R. You can actually buy it on Inch. We have it on Paraswap. We also have it here and others. So all these actually places in which you can see it here. You can see the top pool out. You can see the top pool that we have. You can see them here and also all these are actually places in which we have them to actually integrate into the ecosystem. The top pool protocol, when looking at the ecosystem, how it actually operates, what are the different factors that we need to actually consider when looking at the ecosystem. How does this project actually operate? How can we actually go into what are the different factors that we need to consider or that we need to take into consideration when looking at this project? And you can see the top pool. This is actually the top pool. You can see the top pool. These are actually the top pool that we have here. Okay, someone is actually asking for, okay, on the chat box, someone's actually asking me a question. Let me check it out. I noticed a question. Okay, hello, yeah, is there any edge? Okay, you can actually this is actually this is actually a project that actually gives out airdrop. So you can currently go on the on Git, you can actually go and actually get this airdrop. Now immediately you get this airdrop, immediately it's being launched in few hours from now. It's being launched. You actually get a token out of this project, because this is actually a very good project, and it actually has a very good utility, and the fact that it's actually backed by the it actually has a collateral when looking at it, and it's actually showing that okay, this is actually a good project over time and other. So it is actually a good, and actually launching on Git.io in few hours from now. So if you're actually looking for a platform to actually buy this project, and then right there, here is actually the right platform for you to actually look out for in investing into this project and others. It is actually that is what I'm saying, that all these points here are actually very important that we need to consider when looking at the ecosystem. And so to get started, generate out on your own time, unlock the full potential of capital efficient growth. Now, what do we mean by unlock the full potential of capital efficient? Now, the first one is generate out. Choose from diverse range of collateral assets to start, and also spend out. Out is actually a kind of a versatile stable coin. Swap, spend, and use out, which grow rates of Raft ecosystem partners and other. So all this actually this is actually how to actually get started on how the ecosystem works and other. So to find out how much you can actually generate using the Excel Ether, how much collateral do you want to deposit? And 1,000. What are the target collateral ratio? You can see how much to generate. You can see how much you can actually generate. The interest rate. These are actually the interest rate and all that and all that. So but all these are actually their investors that's currently investing into the ecosystem and other. So all this actually really what they're actually really all about, and how we can actually go into what do you need to know about them, and all this actually basic, all this actually important information that we need to take note of when you can, okay, this is actually really about this is actually what I'm actually going into. This is actually really what they're actually really all about, and all these factors actually has its own role to play when looking at the ecosystem, or how does it actually operate and all that. Now, looking at it, welcome to our draft documentation updated. This was actually updated last month. Now, what is out? Now let's go into detail. This is actually the white paper. Let's look at we're trying to look into the white paper to get detail about what this project is, and we'll be looking. We've looked about a lot about what the project is actually really about, how we can actually go about it, what are the different factors that we need to consider when looking at the project and other. Now, right now, the next point I'll be looking at right now is, let's look at the white paper to get, okay, this is actually what the white paper is actually really about. This is actually what they're actually doing when looking at the ecosystem, when looking at, okay, when looking at the project himself, and that is the next point that we will be talking about in actually ready into today's wonderful and interesting and in the course of today's session, it's actually very important that we take note of all. It's actually very important that we take note of all these points when looking at the ecosystem. How does it actually operate? What are the different factors? This is actually how the ecosystem works. This is actually Raft that we're actually talking about now. Raft himself, I've actually explained what Raft is actually real about, but I'll actually do justice to it again. And I said before that Raft is actually the generation of OWL. Now, Raft enabled the generation of OWL, a leading decentralized stable coin. Now, Raft is actually it's actually enabled the generation of OWL. Now, when talking about OWL is actually a leading decentralized stable coin. USD stablecoin that is opened, that is actually by opening a collateral debit position or by depositing stablecoin into the Raft protocol reserve. That is actually one point that we need to consider. That is one point that we need to talk about when looking at, okay, this is actually, so what is this R? Now we're talking about what is Raft. Now, what is this R? Now, Raft is actually a capital efficient USD stablecoin backed by high quality collateral assets such as the ETH and other Ether and other, and also the reserve assets such as the the chart and also the yield bearing version of the DAI stablecoin. Now they are aimed to be a stablecoin of choice within the decentralized ecosystem with deep liquidity. Some of this is to keep it tight by our ecosystem, and that these are all important facts. This is actually that all that we take note of all these points when looking at the next point here we have here. What is out? The next point we have here is actually what is out. Now, out is actually the most efficient USD stablecoin backed by both collateral debit position and also the protocol reserve. That is actually what R is actually, you can see it here. That is actually what R is actually really all about here. You can see it here. You can see it here. You can see it here. It's actually now the R is actually the most efficient, the most capital efficient stablecoin backed by both the collateral backed by both the collateral stablecoin position and also the protocol reserve. That is actually what is actually USD stable and also protocol reserve, the decentralized protocol. Now that is actually really, that is one point that we need. So R is actually a stablecoin of choice within the decentralized protocol with deep liquidity across many trading peers and also across many utility. When looking at the stabilized model, a contract that stabilizes the R price, allowing users to trade it again. Looking at it, what are this really all about? How can we actually integrate it into the ecosystem? All this actually important point that we need to consider, we need to take note of when looking at, okay, this is actually how the ecosystem operates. This is actually what we need to take. This is how what we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem, how the ecosystem operates, and it's actually very, very important that we consider all these factors when looking at. So now, our saving rates. Now, fixed interest, no fee, no locking period, and other. You can see the fixed saving rate, fixed interest on the deposits out, no fee, no unlock period, and other. So what is our saving? What is this our saving rate? Now our saving rate is actually a yield pay of that users earn when depositing their token into the our saving model. That's actually what this our saving rate is actually really about. The our saving rate is actually a yield paid by our that users earn when depositing their our token into the our saving model and other. Now, what are the risks of using this R7 model? The use of this R7 model does not expose users to additional risks compared to those functioning of the R. Now, to learn more about them, you can actually fix it how is R backed section for more documentation on how it actually protects, how your funds actually been protected, what are they really about, how can you actually go about it, and all these points we're actually talking about are important points that we need to take note of when talking about it. And also, now how do I deposit into R and all that? These are actually places you can see it here, and you actually have it, or you currently have it on Get.io, which is actually going to be launched in few hours from now. We currently have on Get.io, which is actually going to be launched in few hours from now, which you can actually go into to actually invest into it or buy it. Although before you actually go into to start buying this, you just need to do is just to register. You register in USD in your wallet, and you'll be able to be part of. Now, no deposit, no maximum deposits. When that's the first features when talking about the R7 model. The first one is no minimum fee and also composability when you can from. Now we have different. How do they actually generate this yield or this form of giving out to the community that they do give out, and how do they actually generate their own income? Now we have to the first way in which we actually have to look at is the churn yield. We also have a churn yield. We also have the borrowing fee. Now when talking about the borrowing, users can generate our pay borrowing fee in out that are directly and other. That these are all steps that we actually have in the ecosystem and other. So in looking at, okay, the next one also is the background, or actually what the background actually important protocol, important point that we need to actually talk about, that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. This is actually what they actually really about. This is actually how we can actually go about it. What do we need to know? How can we actually go about it and other? it is actually very important that we consider all these factors when looking at the ecosystem. And now the next point we're talking about now is the background introduction to this house saving rate. Now, building upon the success of the DAI7 model, we are introducing the R7 rate, essentially duplicating the DAL model for R holders. These users can deposit R, yield any kind of a yield dominance in R, and obtain the RR token in return. Now, the RR token in is Kane to Chan, representing the ownership and also the incurring yield of the out deposit. When you can, okay, now this is actually the monetary policy, traditional market versus the decentralized finance market. And bank and financial institution in the traditional finance allow customers to park their money in savings account or money on money bank or money markets and funds. Now, during period of high interest rates and conversive monetary policies, this account provide what is deemed for economical risks and free rates. Now, these rates are especially attractive as they help preserve wealth for creation when looking at the ecosystem and all these actually important points that we need to take note of when looking at what are they really about, how can we actually go about it, and like all these actually important points that we need to take note, that we need to consider when looking at the ecosystem and other. Now, apart from all this, now this rates are especially attractive to help people or to help preserve wealth from inflation when looking at the ecosystem. And also, this decentralized stablecoin is designed by design and also invest their reserve assets by traditional financial instruments like one mentioned earlier. Why this instrument yield return yield, and also an interesting quarter areas when it arises when looking at the ecosystem and how it actually operates, what they actually really all about, and this yield does not trickle down to the stable coin holders we're looking at. So this gap can benefit to can this gap is benefit distribution is often resulting in investors moving their stable coin or moving their capital back from DeFi to TradeFi during the high period, seeking to capitalize those high free tax or free yield tax when looking at ecosystem and others. So all these actually important points that we need to talk about, that we need to look out for when looking at the ecosystem, when looking at, okay, this is actually how they operate, this is actually what we need to take, this is actually what we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem, how the ecosystem operates, how can we actually really go about it and other. I believe you guys are actually following me and getting what I'm actually dishing out to you guys in the course of today's session. Please along to this section, if you have any question whatsoever, you are free to ask on the chat box, in which justice is going to be done as we keep moving ahead in the course of today's session. Please, if you have any question whatsoever, you are free to ask on the chat box as we keep moving ahead in the course of today. So this is actually the flash meet. This is actually the flash meet. This is actually emphasizing security. We also have flash meets using for leverage, flash meets usage for liquidity, flash meets calculation, and this actually you can actually check out the white paper to get more understanding about what this project is actually really all about. And also looking at it, the bridging the out with the link chain cross chain interpolability protocol, and you can see it. So you can see the level of in which how it's actually been operated, and all this you can see now how it's out back collateral debit position, vault. We have protocol reserve. This is actually how it's actually been backed, and all that. You can see you can actually get more information about what the CDP is actually vault is actually really all about, and all these are actually interesting conversation that we can actually check for. We can actually get important conversation actually what they're actually really all about, how we can actually go about them, what are the different factors that we need to actually take note. So we can see we have different protocol here that can actually take they can actually take notes of when looking at them or when looking at how it's actually being operated. And let's go ahead, let's look at the I want to look at this at the coin itself. Now this is actually the coin line, looking at the tokenomics of this project. Now what is now the tokenomics of this project when talking about it? Now looking at it, the owl is actually the native token, the Raft is actually the native token of the draft ecosystem. Now the draft is actually the native token of the draft ecosystem. Now the draft token actually has two functions, and the first function is governance, and the second function is staking. This now, if I will actually ask, okay, what is tokenomics? If you actually ask me that, okay, now what is the tokenomics of this draft that we're actually talking about? The first one is governance, which you know the economic has to do with people. Governance has to do with people. Now the way you know the but this is actually the two core function that actually that we actually have in the ecosystem. The token holders can provide liquidity for the balancer proof and stake their balanced liquidity pool token to get the to drive the growth of the draft while earning the draft protocol reward, and which is actually one important point that we need to consider, we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. And so the draft token actually supply 2.5 billion when its allocation is reported in the chart below. You can see how many we actually have. 2.5 billion that we actually have in circulation. We have here, you can see the investors actually has 25%, 25.91%. We also have here the ecosystem and incentive 21%. We also have the team advisory 19%, community 16%, treasury 15%, the DEX markets make actually have 2%, 2.50% when looking at it. And you can see how the rate of actually how the market actually goes. And all this actually important point that we need to take note of. Now let's check out the staking. What is staking? I said this, the draft staking program allows draft holders to stake their token and earn reward from the draft token by following the page provided the detailed explanation on how the program works, and also the potential on how to and also apart from how the program works, also the potential reward and the security measure put in place to protect the program integrity. Now, integrity is actually one important factor that we need to that is actually very, very important when looking at actually how you need to conquer works, what we need to know, how can we all those factors are actually very, very important that we need to actually consider when looking at the ecosystem, when looking at okay how the ecosystem operates on, how what we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem, what are the different factors that we need to consider, what are the different factors that we need to consider when looking at the ecosystem, what do we need to know, what are the different factors that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem, and all these points here are actually interesting points that we need to actually take take note of when looking at the ecosystem. And I believe you guys are actually getting a lot from what I'm actually sharing with you guys in the course of today's session. Please, if you have any question whatsoever, you're free to ask on the chat box, and with justice is going to be done as we keep moving ahead in the course of today's session. Please, if you have any question whatsoever, you're free to ask on the chat box, and with justice is going to be done as we keep moving ahead in the course of today's. Now you can see the protocol here. You can see now the draft protocol model focus on being effective, transparent, and community driven while maintaining a governance maximum approach and order. Now that's actually what they're trying to efficiency, transparent, community driven are actually one of the core features that we need to consider, that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem, when looking at okay, this is actually what the ecosystem is actually being about. This is actually what they do. These are actually different factors that we need to actually integrate into the ecosystem when looking at it and other. So all these points are actually very, very important factor that we need to consider when looking at. So now this is actually the benefits of governance maximum approach, the initial governance structure, and all this actually different protocol put in place to actually ensure that okay, it's actually it goes the way as planned, the security is actually fixed, and all this actually very, very important. You can see this actually the security audit, all the draft smart contract has been fully audited, and you can see it has actually been fully audited every few months or thereabouts. Actually every month is actually audited, and all that this month also going to be audited for this month, and the ecosystem actually being audited to ensure that okay, it's actually safe for people to actually go into it to make use of it, and all that. So all these are actually very, very important that we need to take note of when looking at the ecosystem. How does ecosystem operate? What are the different factors that we need to consider when looking at ecosystem and another? So that is all what we will be talking about in today's session. I believe you guys have gained a lot from what I've actually shared with you guys in the course of today's session. We'll be live again tomorrow for another interesting conversation. So we'll be live again tomorrow for another. So right now, if you have not claimed this project and you actually want to be part, right now is the right time. Which look into claiming this project and be part of it. We'll be live again tomorrow for another interesting and wonderful conversation. We will come together to be able to get more impact, to get more understanding about the market, what the market is actually really all about. How can we actually take control of the market? What are the different factors that we need to consider in taking control of the market and others? So that's all what we're talking about. Let me check. Do you have any question? Okay, we don't have any question. So thanks so much for everyone that's actually connected live with us in the course of today's session. I believe you guys have gained a lot from what I've actually shared with you guys. We'll live again tomorrow for another interesting conversation to learn more about the market space, how we can actually go into the market, what are the different factors that we need to consider before going to the market. Thank you so much. See you same time tomorrow for another interesting section. Bye guys, and enjoy the rest of the day. Stay blessed, guys.